My name is Steve Suttell, and I'm running for the board of our North Coast Co-op. I've been on the board for 5 years, and we've been through a lot, and we've accomplished a lot. We have a new GM. We've gone through 2 strategic planning sessions. We had some financial challenges. I want to mention something about the board. The current sitting board and what will become the next sitting board, individually and collectively, they're intelligent, diligent, thoughtful, resourceful, and hardworking. It has been an honor to work with these dedicated and very valuable fellow board members. But instead of dwelling on the past, I'd like to take a little closer look at the future. And the future, for me, this has always been my issue, has been localizing our food sources. In the strategic plan, the long-range goals, 2 of the long-range goals are develop our local food shed, and another is invest in our future. And if you just meld those together, you have develop and invest in our future local food shed. And again, this is a good part of the reason why I ran for the board in the first place, and it's also the reason that I ran again a second time. You have to ask, what is the role of the co-op in our local food shed? And I see the co-op as being a catalyst. And a catalyst is something that causes activity. And in the co-op's role in our local food shed, we can identify demand. And when I say identify demand, it has to be feasible. If we can grow something here, why aren't we not growing it here? A good example for me are artichokes. Now, artichokes are grown in the Castro Valley. 99.9%, virtually all of the commercial artichoke growing in the United States is done in Castroville. Cool Mediterranean climate. I have an artichoke growing in my alley. I didn't plant it there. It's growing. It produces. So I'm pretty sure that it's feasible to grow artichokes here. So if we identify a demand, we have a demand that's not being met here. The co-op can do that rather easily, and if there is a demand, someone will come along and supply it if it's feasible. The other catalyst I see is being a partner. You can partnership with money. You can partnership with expertise, with volunteers, developing connections, holding seminars, sponsoring a seminar that brings in the local players in the organic food production area. And the other thing that probably the simplest and the hardest would be to just own the project. And the co-op, it is a financial entity. It does have, it has revenues. Those revenues go back into the community some way or another. Financing a project is certainly a possibility. You might ask, who's going to do this? Where are the farmers going to come from? Where are the preservation or food preservation people going to come from? Where are the distributors going to come from? I took a look at the 2008 through 2013 Economic Fuel Award winners. $160,000 were given to about 10 different individuals that were food related. There is an interest in this type of project. I'd like to talk a little bit about projects themselves, and these are just my ideas. I don't have a monopoly on any of these ideas, but and I'm sure there are many of them out there. But if you look at something like artichoke production, a person goes out, they say, well, I want to produce artichokes, and they don't have 20% down for a loan. The co-op could come in and buy a portion of their crop 3 years going forward, put it in their pocket right now, and perhaps that would be the catalyst to get that going. So Forward purchasing is production credit. It's identifying the demand, and it's partnering. Another project could be an organic farm. You take 10 acres and you certify it organic, you fence it, put in irrigation, put in ingress, egress, regress, divide it into quarter-acre plots, put a greenhouse on it, put a produce stand out in front of it, and you share equipment and labor and expertise. It sounds a lot like a co-op. Add co-op principles to it, and you have a co-op. So a couple of the things that I see that are that I can identify, artichokes, obviously, potatoes. We used to have about 100 acres of potatoes in potato production in Humboldt County, mostly on the coast. Lay's potato chips came in and asked for that production, so they'd put a plant here. They never put the plant in, and we quit producing potatoes. Very viable crop, good cash crop. Herbs. And if you go into herb production, a quarter acre is actually quite a lot to do herb production, but there's no reason for us not to do it. And then it becomes an incubator for sharing ideas, sharing expertise. Someone that, say, they go in and they do an acre of potatoes, and it's feasible, and they can prove that it's feasible, and they can draw up a business plan and take it down to one of the lenders and say, okay, I can grow potatoes, I can do it successfully, help me get it started. And maybe they're doing, instead of 1 acre, they're doing 10. Instead of 10, they might be doing 100 acres. Another area that I think we need to look at in localizing our food sources is preservation of the food. We don't have enough production to have a cannery. We could do canning processes, but an actual cannery is not feasible. But there is a technique, a system called pascalization. And pascalization is basically high pressure that kills yeast, molds, and bacteria. 50,000 pounds per square inch. Just as an example, the shelf life of guacamole is about 3 days, and with pascalization, the shelf life is 30 days. It's a low temperature preservation, so it maintains a lot of the positive structures within the food. It doesn't bake it out of it or cook it out of it. Fish and other prepared meats are good examples of what can be used in pascalization to extend the shelf life. Apple cider, you don't have to pasteurize it. You can pascalize it and maintain the flavor and all the positive attributes. Another interesting thing about pascalization is you put a clam or an oyster in there and put it under that pressure. You open up the shell and the meat falls out. No shucking necessary. It's a very, very useful technique. Costs a little bit, but then again, we're talking about our future. In talking to you, kind of summing up what I've been talking about, proud to be on the board, interested in localizing our food supplies, our food shed, interested in doing projects going forward, and above all, vote. Please vote. Thank you.